Hey everyone, Jim T. Graham with rcgroups.com, and I'm super excited to be in the shop of Chris Henson. Chris was just telling me how dirty his shop was and how he had not picked up after doing a build or two or three. And Chris, it looks like you're in a studio somewhere.
Well, I've got one corner of my shop blocked off with a scrim and just a little area to take pictures and so forth. So I figured this is better than my messy workbenches. I'm the worst at cleaning up until after a build is done and end up hunting for a tool for 30 minutes. So I've got to get better at that.
So if you were on RC Groups last week, you saw the online trade show, and one of the big releases was Chris made it known that he has multiple new airplanes coming to the market. And what we didn't have were videos of those planes. Now, a few are up north, and we'll talk about that in the future. But we do have some of these new airplanes in Chris's shop. And so what we're looking at right now is the brand new 85-inch Edge 540T. I'm going to cut over to Chris and let Chris tell you about it, and I'll ask some questions as we go along. So Chris, tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah, Jim, this is, as you said, the 85-inch 50cc Edge 540T. It is a slightly scaled down version of the original 88-inch version that we've sold for many years and was one of our best selling airplanes. You know, there's so many 50cc engines out there, 50 to 60cc, that don't have a home as this class of airplanes got bigger through the years. The 50 and 60cc power plants, you know, were marginal as flying styles have progressed to be more aggressive. So, you know, a lot of people were requesting, hey, we want something specifically for these size engines that'll give us great performance. And, you know, we released the 85-inch Extra last year, and it's immediately jumped up to be one of our best sellers. So we decided to bring this out next, being that it was always a really popular airplane. You know, you can't go wrong with an Edge. And luckily, they are on the water right now on the way from China, should be here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll start shipping.
Tell us about the covering. What kind of covering do you have on there?
This is straight up Aura cover, or known in the United States as Ultra Coat. Really nice scheme that Ben Fisher came up with. He's been hitting it out of the park lately with his color scheme. So I'm really happy about the ones he came up with for this airplane.
And how do the wings attach?
The wings attach with a new latch mechanism that our CAD engineers over in China came up with. You know, we've been tasked with doing that by our customers, and I put it in the hands of two fellows, Mr. Stone and Anjay, our two main engineers over in the factory. And when Ben and I got over to China last year in September, they were so excited to show us this new mechanism they'd come up with, and they really did a great job with it. I'm super excited about it. I think my customers are really going to like it. Basically, you can put this airplane together in about 30 seconds and be ready to fly. So
when you build a bird like this, I'm sure there's a lot of testing, because it's going to be the hands of guys like Jay Stucia who are going to wring it out. So, I mean, this airframe is up to the task of extreme maneuvers?
Absolutely. It's been beat on. We, like I mentioned, this is one of the ones we flew back in the fall over in China. And we always get our engineers cringing when we go out there and beat on them. Ben and I are pretty ruthless in, you know, full throttle blenders and crankshafts and so forth. You know, we spend pretty much a solid week at the flying field every day from early in the morning to late in the evening. And take 2 or 3 new airplanes and just beat on them, take notes, go back to the factory, make whatever changes are necessary. And what's amazing is the rapid prototyping over there. You know, we can go over there. Typically, they'll have a plane ready for us. We'll put the servos, engines in, get it ready to fly, go spend an entire day at the field. As I said, you know, take notes, get back to the factory early evening, have some dinner, and sit down in front of the computers with the CAD, make changes, and by the next afternoon, we've got a revised airplane and are typically flying it by the next day. So
that's crazy. That was my next
good way to get things done pretty quick.
So my question was going to be, let's say that you made some changes. When do you get to fly that airplane? You're saying by the next day they can have it built, covered, and stuffed and ready to get in the air?
Yeah, over there, when we're flying these airplanes, we're not really concerned as much about
right.
the appearance of the airplane. So if we need to tape stuff on or alter a former or, anything, typically can that be done fast. And in fact, we have gone from come home one evening, want to try a different wing design. The guys will change something in the CAD. They'll be burning balsa wood with a laser that evening. By the time we get in the next morning, they've got a wing framed up. They're covering it that afternoon, and we're ready to fly an airplane late that afternoon. It's pretty amazing.
That's awesome. Now, the good news for all of you is that there is a feature article, and I will link to this. And so you can go take a look at some of the shots of this on the ground, a little bit of information, a little bit of flying photographs, and you can get a feel for how big it is, what it looks like, some of the trim schemes. And Chris, I was talking to you, this thing is not ready to ship or purchase yet. So do we have ETAs and things like that, and our times of change?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's on the water, and we'll be here in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's going to be here really soon.
So did we want to pop some things open and take some internal looks?
Well, I'll see what I can do here.
So there's that canopy releasing. And that is actually the pilot figure is Ben Fisher. He has a helmet on. You can't tell, but that's
Pilot X.
Yeah.
Give me just a minute. I'm going to grab the camera and come around for another view.
Okay.
So this is actually the very first airplane off the production line. This is the one I'm assembling and doing the instruction manual with. So I still have to mount batteries and drill the prop and spinner. But other than that, this one's ready to go. The reason we don't have any video of any of these planes is our field is shut down due to the quarantine. So I'm hoping that that's going to be lifted here before too long, and we can take advantage of some of these beautiful days we've been having and get some good video.
So while we're standing here, is there anything we need to say? Are we done with this one? Is there a lot more to be said?
Well, let me add that, DA50, there's plenty of engines on the market in that range. We typically fly with the DA50, DA60, DLE55, GP61, EME60. There's so many engines that will fit the bill for this airplane to really turn it into a rocket. So pretty flexible there. Of course, you're going to want good quality servos, metal gear, high torque, fast. The surfaces are big as usual. So, yeah, I think that's about it.
Can you say what kind of servos you run in your planes?
I am running MKS 777A in these.
Gotcha. And we are looking at the 300 Extra EXP 48V2. I would think the beauty of this is a plane you could get in your car, put an electric motor on, fly some lipos, and kind of easy to get into. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I think most people can probably fit this in the back of their car fully assembled. This is pretty much the entry point into our aircraft for people, just getting into the 3D thing or want something they can fly at the local park or even in their backyard if they've got a little bit of a wide open space. But this is a revised version of what was pretty much the best-selling airplane we ever produced, the original 48-inch Extra EXP. It's been on the market. I believe we got it to market early 2009, and it continues to sell out every time we get them in. We've got a lot of people asking us, hey, you going to update it to the newer construction methods? And it was just a matter of time before we did that. The thing about this size aircraft that makes it challenging for us is the material cost and labor cost on it has gotten so high that the margins are extremely low on this size airplane. So it's been a challenge to be able to keep these in the lineup. But, in the past, we've had 5 or 6 different versions. There's probably only going to be 1 or 2 in the future of this size, unfortunately, due to those circumstances. But I think this is going to scratch the itch for a lot of people that have been asking us to come back out with this size airplane. And This one has some neat new features that improve it over the original. It's a little bit lighter. It's stronger. It incorporates all the new technology we've been implementing in airplanes for the past 3 or 4 years. And it's still one of my favorite airplanes, just to grab and throw it up out in the front yard, fly it in a small confined area. It's just a lot of fun.
So if you don't know, Chris is probably most well known for giant scale, just amazing flying 3D aircraft. And so how does this thing fly compared to a giant scale plane? I would assume it's got that extreme flight magic in there.
Absolutely, it does. And, in the past where the big limitation for this size airplane has been wind, they typically don't, typically get blown around quite a bit, but so many guys have gone to using some of the newer stabilization systems like the Aura. I believe there's an Eagle Tree system, Jetty. Everybody has one these days. And what that's done is, it doesn't fly the airplane for you, but it tends to damp the airframe on windy days. So you're able to get out and enjoy an airplane this size, where in the past, 10 mile an hour, 15 mile an hour wind would have just made it a real chore to fly and be smooth with. So that's really made a difference in this size airplane.
Another thing, if you're new to Extreme Flight, is they have their own line of speed controllers and motors. And this airplane is running a Torque 2814 820 and an Airbus 45 ESC. What kind of LiPo are you suggesting for this?
4S in the range of 2200 to say 2700, just depending on the manufacturer of batteries. There's a range there. Anything typically below 3,000 and above 2,200 is going to be ideal.
And since it's small and right in front of you, can you show us the bottom and just kind of move it around a little bit?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Is this another Ben Fisher trim scheme?
This is actually a variation of Jim Burke's full-scale color scheme, the orange, white, and blue scheme that he licensed us to use back on some of the other aircraft. And this is just a variation in those colors. Really nice scheme. And this color combination is very, very visible in the air and quite a contrast from top to bottom as well.
Right. Can you pop the top for us?
I can.
So I'm going to get Chris to take some photos of this, and I'll include that in our feature story on rcgroups.com. So there's your internal structure, spacious. And then also, FYI, I have already created this. We've jumped over to the website. So in the 3D flying section of rcgroups.com, there is a thread about, or a post about this. And there's the lovely Miss Ashley, who we shipped down especially for Extreme Flight to do some photographs of these new airplanes. And that was a year ago, man. So you had this in your hands a year ago, I guess.
I did.
Somebody said that they can't believe that you keep secrets for so long, but we've kept some gigantic secrets. So,
oh, sure enough.
Yeah. At Joe Null. So then also here is the actual Jim Burke scheme with the color combination. That orange is theoretically, he told me when he designed that, it was an RC Groups orange. I've always thought of RC Groups as yellow, but somehow this is some part of the CMYK aspect of our logo, or so I'm told. So there you go. There's your two options. And I'm going to, I don't know if I heard you say this or not, but is it on the water? When do we expect it?
Indeed it is. This is actually on the same boat as the 85-inch Edge 540T. So we're just a couple weeks out.
So we'll get Chris to take some internal shots and some shots of the landing gear and stuff like that. Maybe I can grab some specs on it as well. And then I'll get a feature story built so you can watch this video, look at those photos, learn more, and really salivate and start counting your 10s and 20s so that you'll be ready to hit the buy button when this thing releases. We're back in the Chris Henson studio with one more new release, the Edge 540X. This is a beautiful airplane, Chris.
Hey, thanks, Jim.
So tell us the wingspan, some of the specs, and whatever they want to know.
Sure. This size airplane is what Ben Fisher and I like to refer to as the sweet spot for electric 3D airplanes. 60-inch wingspan, roughly 60 inches in length. Runs on a single 6S battery, 3,300 up to 4,000 milliamp. Uses our Torque 4016 500 brushless outrunner and the Airboss 80 amp speed controller, and which just launches this thing out of sight. And again, this is an airplane that was out and a really good seller for us for many years, and it needed the new treatment and uplift. So it's incorporated all the new features. It's got the quick release wing attachment, all the laminated construction on the inside. So we've reduced the weight a little bit with it. And, people are often asking, what's the best airplane to learn 3D on? Well, it's really tough to beat an Edge. And a lot of people refer to this airplane as the 3D trainer because it's really taught a lot of people the basics of 3D. But it can be as wild and aggressive as anything out there. It's just a really good all-around airplane.
So what is the approximate retail for something like this? Because this does seem like something
these are roughly in the $300 range. We're still a few months out on this one. The factory's just getting started, so we haven't got our final cost on it, but it'll be in line with the other airplanes in this series. We recently released the V2 60-inch Extra 300 EXP, and I would imagine this one will be right there at the same price as that one. 300
is totally in the ballpark. And then do we need to buy a power system? Do we add the power system to it when
we do add the power system to that? And the good thing about that is if you purchase the airplane motor and speed controller, we offer a pretty substantial discount. I think it's in the range of 20%.
Wow.
Which is pretty substantial. So you're able to get into this for a very reasonable price.
So this guy is on the water with the other planes, or is it in the same container?
Not yet. It's still a little ways off. We just signed off on it. In fact, I just got to fly this before the quarantine, a couple days ahead of that. So I would say this will be here sometime this summer.
Gotcha.
Probably toward the end of the summer, actually.
And can we pop that hatch just to show how the canopy works? And what kind of build time is there on this thing?
Man, it's gotten so fast. I can put one of these together in about 3 hours. I think anybody with reasonable experience building could do that really easily.
Your video just dropped out.
Somebody's trying to call me. Hang on.
Yep.
I guess I should have turned my cell phone off, huh?
Oh, man. I probably do the same thing.
Back?
Yeah. Let me tell my daughter, who just woke up, that I'm live. I'm live. Okay. What else we got you think that we should talk about?
Do you think you got the whole sentence of me talking about how fast it builds?
Let's do it again.
Okay.
So how fast does this thing build? I mean, it's an ARF, but how ARF is it?
It's really complete, Jim. I can build one of these in about 3 hours. I would think the average modeler out there could do it in that amount of time. Certainly can be built in one evening, 2 at the max. There's really very little assembly required. Really, the only gluing you have to do is gluing the CA hinges in and the control horns and sliding the stab into place and gluing it. The rest is just bolting parts on. So it's quite an easy assembly.
You know, I'll jump over. I was about to comment on how pretty that trim scheme is. And we do have, I created a story for this, and we have photos of it out in the field, some information, basically everything Chris has just said, and then more shots. I'm looking for a different scheme. Oh, well, we got a red, black, and white one here. My favorite.
Yeah, that's the same scheme that's on the 85-inch Edge that I showed a little bit earlier.
Very awesome. So you can check that out here. This is in the 3D section, 3D flying section at rcgroups.com. And then I'm also going to take this video. It'll be on YouTube, but there'll be a feature article in the 3D section. and you'll be able to check that out. I'm going to get Chris to take some other photos of these birds so that you'll have a few more looks, and you can begin to salivate as you prepare to get your credit card ready to hit the buy button. You can check them out at extremeflightrc.com, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Anything you need to tell us, Chris? Because we're probably not going to see it.
While I'm here, let's talk a little bit about the Extra NG. I don't have it here with me. It's Jace has it up in Michigan, and he and John have been out beating on it for the past, I guess, couple of months. And we are very fortunate that we were able to get a license through Mirko of Aircraft Design Studio, who's going to allow us to model that airplane in several sizes. So the 104 will be first. There'll be other sizes to come.
We're going to jump over so you can take a look at that. Now, here's my plan, just so you know. I'm going to try to contact Jace and get him on the line on YouTube, and we'll do another video feature of that. So we'll have that. But here's a look at it. Silver, black, and red. Super sweet. Very awesome. And we actually do have a flight video of this bird. And I'll give you a little bit of a taste. And you can jump over to RC Groups. This has never happened to me before, this lag in internet speed. It's a COVID related issue, I believe.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, you get the idea. He's ringing it out. We're a little stuttery, which once again is not the case. Here we go. This is better. So flight characteristics of the NG compared to, let's say, the Edge 540X?
Well, talking to Jace, Jace pretty much said it combines the best of the slick and the laser, which is a really good combination, being that both of those airframes have won quite a few contests and international freestyle events. So we're really excited about the NG.
Awesome. And once again, I will attempt to get Jace on the line so we can get a close-up of that. And so that was the goal here, was for you to be able to take a look at these airframes, let Chris talk about them directly to you like he would at Joe Nall or Toledo or wherever we can't be right now. And I will post these feature articles with all this information. Chris always keeps an eye on it, and there's always users out there that are also available. So, Chris, as we get out of here, anything you want to say to everybody out there?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my business partner, Ben Fisher, who is at the helm of this ship with me and a just invaluable part of what goes on at Extreme Flight. And I also have to thank my partners over in China, Bear and his wife, June, and our engineers over there, Mr. Stone and Anzai. We couldn't do what we do without them, and they are certainly a very valuable part of our organization. So thank you so much to all of you.
And in return, I want to say thank you to Chris from everybody at RC Groups and the hobby in general, because it's guys like Chris that keep the hobby moving forward and allow us to have airframes to fly and things to get excited about, especially now that we're stuck at the house in our shop and need things to do. So thank you, Chris.
Glad to do it, Jim.
All right, everyone. Well, stay safe out there. Get in the shop and go build something and get creative. And keep your eye on the YouTube channel. Hit subscribe if you want to see our live videos as we go. And I'll get out of here. Jim T. Graham with RC Groups, Chris Henson with Extreme Flight.
Cheers. Take care.
Thanks for watching.